All right, hello, Metal Maniacs. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. Absolutely thrilled today. I am chatting with two members of killer metal band. If you're not familiar with them yet, you will be soon. Viperwitch. Of course, I'm talking to Danica Miner, aka Lynx the Huntress. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
And of course, Jason Pinero, aka Zeus. How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
We're good.
How are you,
Excellent,
man?
excellent. Yeah, excited to chat with you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks for
Um,
having us. We really
yeah,
appreciate
so I mean, first and foremost, I got to congratulate you. I know you've got two singles out thus far from the new album. New album is coming out May 1st,
it. Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. And which is Witch Hunt, colon, um, I think I've got this right. Hopefully, Road to Vengeance, right? That's the name of the new album. Cool. Yeah. And so you've got two singles out, and I know you've got two more that are going to drop before the album releases, right? If I got cool, awesome. Yeah. And what? Yeah, I jumped all over those. Yeah, that those first two releases, Tooth and Nail, and then of course the She Wolves of the Wasteland, which is awesome and harkens back to an old movie from my era when I was in high school. Terribly wonderful movie. It's of the same name. So I guess I'm sorry, that was a lot of information I just threw out there very quickly. But I guess with that single, I've got how did you come across this? How did this come into your sphere of music and wanting to do a song about that film?
Oh my God. Okay. So we'll rewind. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, She Wolves of the Wasteland was I'm not sure how to describe it in those appropriate terms, but it is borderline softcore porn.
Oh yeah.
It's awful. It's amazing though. It's a really, really great film. And I remember being a kid in TNT in Colorado specifically, maybe like Central West Coast. They used to have a late night showing of a lot of these kind of borderline dirty movies. They basically wanted to see how far they could get without getting in trouble.
Right.
So yeah, I remember being probably around seventh, eighth grade, like sixth, seventh, eighth grade. So I'm about to fucking date myself. This is gonna be bad. Probably from about 99, like 90, yeah, around like 97, 98, 99. So this is the timeline. They were showing that movie would come up. And I was always a late night TV person because I was an athlete. Most of my social life or what I was able to do was like after practice time. And obviously before I would go to bed. So around, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, I'd be up till sometimes like 2 o'clock in the morning watching TV, either Adult Swim or whatever it was. So
Right.
that movie was ingrained in my brain because I was like, holy shit. Like you as a kid, you never seen this level of shit before unless it's like
Yeah.
your older brother, being like, hey, check out this nudie magazine. And especially with being a girl, like we're not really exposed to that stuff at all. But so that kind of ingrained in my brain. And then fast forward, I ended up playing in a bunch of like punk bands throughout high school, and I did a Black Sabbath cover band, I think in like ninth grade. So obviously that kept going throughout, my teens and 20s. And then probably about 8 years ago, it's so hard. It's with the pandemic, like nothing is time or space anymore. So before the end times, I had a friend, her name was Sarah. We started, and this is her brainchild, we started an all-female hair metal band called Stray Pussy. And that's where my nickname came from. We all had to have stage names. And at that time, we were doing hair metal, and then I kind of got burnt out because I had come from most recently playing melodic death metal.
Okay.
And I kind of wanted to do something a little bit heavier and a little bit more serious. Hair metal's fun for a period of time, then you kind of get burned out. So she and I took a break, I stepped away, and then I came back and I was like, hey, do you want to do more like traditional heavy metal? At the time I was, obviously you know, kind of going back into my roots, moving away from mellow death and hair metal, going back to like listening to like Saxon.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I just really want to fucking do this. Like, this is kind of what I grew up playing. My parents were musicians. This is the shit my dad showed me at a young age, and I was like, I want to do this. And it just, I guess from there, just spiraled out of absolute control. And we started writing, and for most of what we do now is what I wrote back then with her for that band, and we were called Saxon Killer. And on the album, you'll see one of our first songs is Saxon Killer. That's our main intro. I was a part of a kindred for a really long time of practicing Asatru for about 15 years. And obviously the Anglo-Saxons of my ancestry were the villains. So we're like, yeah, we're going to be the bad guys. So we're like, yeah, Saxon Killer, let's do that. And yeah, her and I were sitting around. We'd always watch like really, really amazing 80s, like the trauma films and things like that. We'd sit around, and one day she came to me. She's like, "Do you remember this movie?" And I was like, "Oh my god, yes, she was like, listen, I have this idea." And yeah, she laid out some chorus, which we still literally we use till this day. She Wolves of the Wasteland, Desperation in the Sand. And that's when I really started formulating the song, and I got it recorded and I think put up on YouTube in like 2014, 15. And yeah, here we are now. It's like an actual single, and it's just insane. It's like, oh my God, all these weird things that I came up with like how many years ago? It's like, people like this shit. The fuck is wrong with them? But it worked out, because it's obviously we're still writing it. We're still doing this. And
Yeah.
I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed that this turned out the way that it did. And yeah, it's pretty great being able to play something that really resonates with you, and something you were not only raised in, but it's a part of your core. Not a lot of people get that opportunity. So at this point, we're just getting funny and weird with it.
Nice.
I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
No complaints here.
Yeah. It's all luck at this point.
Yeah, I love it. That was the thing, you know, when I first came across the song, when it first came into my realm, and I saw the title, I'm like, wait a minute. Like there was a movie, I think. Like you know, I'm old, so it's like, oh, I remember. And then I listened to the song and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, I love this. I love this, you know, melodic, you know, traditional metal sound, you know, which also takes me back to that same period of time, you know, like, you know, especially, you know, like Jag Panzer and Omen and those types of bands. And
all them. Yeah. Nice and heavy, man. They
yeah,
really,
and yeah, just real heavy, really great melodies. And then when I looked at the lyrics, and then when I saw the video, I'm like, oh my God, I remember this movie. Yeah, it just took me right back. And I'm like, this is great. This is what I wanted. This is what I need right now. This is perfect. Yeah, so I cannot wait for the album to come out. I'm really excited to hear the rest of it. I can't wait to hear the rest of what you're doing, because you know, based on that one song alone, I'm in. I'm all in. So
I was gonna say, oh shit, now there's pressure. Like, I really hope they like it. I don't know. we kept I mean, it's my crappy writing, everything and one little thing that people don't know that's pretty fun is that when I started writing all of this, my parents were musicians, and to kind of pay homage to them, like, thank you. Like, I wrote everything in D minor. My name is D minor. My parents made it a thing. If I was a boy, it would have been Eric minor. So it would have been E minor, but yeah, so I wrote this entire album is all in D minor. So that is for any kind of like music theory nuts, or just people that the basic music.
That's cool.
That's just a fun little thing. So yeah, everything is all in D minor, and you'll get hints of like power metal. You know, Hall of the Mountain King was a big inspiration for me writing this. Skull Fist. So I hope that you guys are gonna like it. I mean, if you guys like She-Wolves, then yeah, that's a good precursor that maybe you'll enjoy it. But
the album really comes out in May. You've got 2 more singles coming out. What can you tell me a little bit about what those songs are?
Yeah, so they are we've announced the names already, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure I don't give too much away.
Did we? I don't know. Yeah, no, we did.
Okay, we did. So they are Hellbound and the Huntress. They have been staples in the live show for a very long time.
Cool.
But we got the opportunity to get some guest vocals on Hellbound from our buddy Devin from Anubis. So we're super excited to drop that one.
Right on.
did a phenomenal job with his performance on it. Really excited for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, if you guys, sorry to interject, but if you guys have not checked them out, but Anubis, I believe he was also in Hatchet. He is kind of a multi-instrumentalist. I've known him for years, and when we were able to go out to LA and play, he was like, "Holy shit, Hellbound's my favorite song," and I was like, "Cool, well maybe like one day we can collab or something." And then when we finally had the opportunity to like sit and get this album done, he was like, "So about that proposition," and I was no. I actually hit him up and I was like, "Bruh, like, do you actually want to do this?" And he was like, "Oh my god, yeah!"
Nice.
So we've been working with him, and just his vocals are absolutely batshit insane. Like I don't want to spill too many beans about it, but just with the processing, the way he goes about recording his vocals is just, it's mind blowing. I haven't seen this in a really long time. I mean, other than maybe like Sonata Arctica, like back in the day, but yeah, I'm really excited for it. So yeah, sorry, please go check his stuff out.
Right.
And like in the meantime, like go listen to his stuff. He's got his own little YouTube shenanigans going on. I think he does interviews, but he also does like vocal covers.
Oh, nice. Cool. When will that drop?
At the end of this month on my birthday.
Oh, great.
Yes. So February 25th. I was like, I can't really remember dates, so I have to correlate them to people's birthdays. So I was like, yeah, let's release this single on my birthday, this single on my dad's birthday, this one on this person's birthday. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be at the end of this month.
Great. And then the final single before the release is what song?
The Huntress, which is
so that's The Huntress. Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite songs on the album, as far as like playing it live. It's just a lot of high energy. The rhythm section kind of gets to have a little bit more of a wild time on that one. Jacob, nice. Our drummer, does some really cool stuff in the chorus, and it's a lot of fun to play that one. But that one, I don't even know how to describe it anymore. Like I've heard these songs so many times now. It's like, it's really melodic and also has these like really heavy sections, and it's very dynamic, and it has a lot of movement to it. It's a really, really great tune, and I'm super excited to drop that one. And you know, then there's the Huntress here, which is, so, you know, it's not about her, but yeah. It's similarly named, and I think it's really funny that it's similarly named.
Okay.
It follows the storyline. So this is a concept album. It's something I've been writing for a really long time, and I was hoping one day, like, I'm a big comic book kid. I mean, behind me, I don't know if you can see, I've got literally on my wall, like, my collection of Red Sonja comics. I've had
right on.
From when I was a kid into my teens and 20s. I've got like first edition, first prints from like 72. But
wow, cool.
Yeah, so I big comic book kid, and I really wanted to write a concept album for this. So that's kind of where we're at. And a lot of these songs do follow the storyline. And yeah, the Huntress specifically, it's more of an emotional piece for me. When I was first writing it, I was basing it off of Washington Is Next by Megadeth, and I know I'm going to be shot to oblivion by admitting that I even like Dave Mustaine, but no, I really, really love that riff, and I was like, how can I repurpose this? But yeah, a lot of it follows the actual storyline of the Huntress in the series, where she finally breaks into the Silver Tower, where all the oligarchs who basically run the entire city in this new rebuilt world, and she just massacres them with her team one by one. That's where you hear the line, run, rabbit, run, because we often see oligarchs as white rabbits, white old men. And then the reason I think it's a little bit more emotional is I did write it in college. I did a lot of Native American language studies, and just learning about just basically the thousands of tribes are absolutely massacred for white privilege. And so in seeing the cultural, I mean, the deep effects it has on so many of these tribes now, and being friends with a lot of friends that are within their communities, working within their communities, on their reservations, within their councils, I wanted to write something for them that was kind of worked its way into the storyline to kind of give them representation, and like they finally get their fucking vengeance. So yeah, that song, that comes out March 22nd. And then we can't tease anymore. We just wanted to leave some breadcrumbs because everybody's been waiting a while for the album for us to kind of get it all together. So we thought like 3 or 4 singles should be good, but no more cookies.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
No more cookies before dinner.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we picked a good few to sort of show what the album is about, while also still leaving a little bit of mystery in there.
Yeah. You've done a good job, you know, with the first 2 releases of, you know, really, I think for me, especially, you know, just I'm hooked. I'm in. I'm ready. Like I want more. Yeah, like, you know, especially when I saw the length of Tooth and Nail, I'm like, God damn it. They're just torturing me. They're just torturing me now. So, but it's great stuff. Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, and I did not know it's a concept album, so that's even more exciting. That's really cool. I'm excited. Well, I love the fact that, I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, Danica, you've been working on a lot of this material for a decade, you know, maybe more. You know, so it's really interesting this you know, I mean, you're obviously very invested in it, which is cool. So I was curious about because I know, you know, you worked with different musicians, and so I was curious about kind of how the band now came about, how the band developed into what it is now, the band that's on the album.
Wow, yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, you know, working on something for that long is just for me, it's I had to develop my own skills over time. Evan Knight, who's on She Wolves of the Wasteland, he was actually my like advanced guitar theory teacher. We worked together for a little bit of time back in around 2014. And you know, seeing his skill sets and being like, okay, if I want to do this, I have to fucking do it right. Unfortunately, being of the female race, you know, you either come out hard and swing with everything that you fucking have, or just don't, because unfortunately there's just too much writing there. And I didn't want to come out and half-ass this. I wanted to really advance my skills. So over time, it was more like, just don't think I'm ready to be out there yet. And then eventually over time, I met the right people. And I think that's the other side of it, you know, being in bands, it's really hard finding the right musicians. It literally, you're cultivating essentially like relationships with people.
Yeah.
And also relationships with people that like what you're doing or understand what you're doing, or can, you know, at the level where you know, where essentially you want to put yourself like, okay, I need a guitarist that's better than me so that I can work up to be like them, and then we can carry each other. You know, there's so many things that are, it's a moving part and it's hard to get together. And unfortunately, not a lot of people want to do traditional heavy metal because it's already been done. And it's also really difficult to convince people when you don't have a product yet. You know, everybody wants to join your band when you've already got an album or 10 out, you know, but nobody wants anything to do with the guy, the crazy dude screaming on the corner with his beer, like, somebody join my thrash band. Like, nobody wants to do that. Yeah. And I get it. It's a gamble, and you don't, you know, there's, all those moving parts. So as time progressed, you know, we started building and we started finding, you know, the right people, and then people, you know, come and go, relationships fall apart, they work out, they don't. Sometimes as, you know, musicians, you know, some people just don't want to do it. Some people just want to do something else. And that's, all of that is completely fine. That is the facts of life. It ebbs, it flows. It's like a tree. Leaves come with every season, just like the branches do. And I think, you know, for me, it was difficult because I was like, fuck, man, I just can't seem to figure out like what is the perfect what are the perfect equation that's going to make this work. And then eventually I realized just sitting back and focusing on writing and focusing on production, things like that, the right people, they do come. You can't just be asking like, oh, I really need this, you can't really look. You have to focus where your energy, what you can control, and just eventually things will come to you. It will attract like energy, it will come. And that is kind of essentially what happened with what's now in the album. I mean, Jacob literally just fell into our laps in about late 2019, early 2020. Our roadie who like stepped in on bass, our one of our buddies, he was like, hey, you guys know Jacob, right? Jay and I used to work at Guitar Center. Of course, here we go. We're all Guitar Center kids. So I was a manager there. We had the lessons. Jay was in pro audio. Our buddy was a sales, and so we meet all these people, and our buddy comes to us and says, bro, like, I know you guys know Jacob, and he comes into GC like every week, and he comes in with like needing to buy this gear or that gear. I'm like, oh, that Jacob, I love Jacob. God, okay, what about him? He's like, he's a really good drummer. You guys should check him out. And Jacob came by, and I was just like, holy shit, the annoying guy that I absolutely love that comes in is actually really fucking good. And Jacob was like, well, not so annoying now, am I? And I was like, nah, I get it. You're a gear snob. Okay. But yeah, ever since then, we coddled him. He's had to take a break for personal things. He had some stuff going on with, family and all of that and finances. So we're like, do your thing. We're still here. We're in the middle of recording. So do what you gotta do, buddy. We love you.
No rush.
Yeah, and then he just came right back and he's like, all right, let's do the shit. We're like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And
Let's
then Jay, same thing, just kind of, he stepped in originally. He was just a friend from work, and he was set out to just be our producer and maybe throw some keys, because I was talking about like synth elements, which you guys will see in the album now. Thanks to him, he's helped me learn to basically write synth and all that. But yeah, he's done his job. He was our producer, and then our bassist Dom had to go back to Albuquerque. And by the way, he's in a really killer band now called Hell Dagger. Please check them out. He's in a couple other different ones, but he went down there and they were like best friends. And Dom was like, dude, you're already the producer. I have to leave. Like, do you want to do bass? And I mean, he's a guitarist and a bassist primarily. He's a shy one. So it took some convincing from Dom, and eventually he's like, hey, by the way, like, I talked to Dom, we've been working on some things together. Like, do you want me to step in? And I was like, let's do it. Like, if you're offering it, like, let's fucking do it. Like, okay. And so obviously, yeah, he's been on since about 2019, 2020. And then Will Perkins, same thing, just kind of came to us. He's from Celestial Wizard, and eventually they hit us up wanting to do a tour together. And they knew that it was only us three. And obviously I write a lot of guitar harmonies and all kinds of wacky things, and it is hard to do as a three-piece. We can do it. We can pull a Night Demon, like, we could do it. I don't know if the fans would be super happy not hearing all of the layered melodies, but it's like music. And Will was like, me and Nick could step in. We're already on tour. Like, do you want to teach us some stuff? And we taught them some stuff, and then it led to, like, do you want to be on the album? They're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we want to be on the album. Right. So yeah, we're essentially like this arcane alliance between their band and ours, and they're on the album, and we'll just keep stepping in when we need them. I mean, there have been times where we're like, shit, we've got this festival, and fuck, and he's like, yeah, I'll be there. Like, no, I got 6 projects going on, but I'll be there. And it's like, oh man, we love you.
We're super appreciative.
So
he's been a fantastic addition to the team. Great to do.
Yeah, and it just really helped us solidify, like, oh shit, this is a thing, this is happening, this is real, and it's been great. And this has been the longest lineup we've had, and it's taken some time, but it feels very like anything else. Like, it feels very, very, very worth it. Weeding through a lot in life to be able to finally, like, have the fruits of your labor, like, actually there and edible and, like, biting into the plum, like, oh my God, it happened. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, though. I mean, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say anything. Every time I say something on an interview, I jinx it. The other time I said, oh yeah, we don't get picked on much, and next thing a podcast came up shitting on us, and I was like, oh, we got shoot up and spit out. But I'm thankful for all the guys, and genuinely deeply thankful for what we have now in this lineup and what's on this album. And I will embrace change as I always have. I hope there isn't. I'm praying that there's not, because I love these guys. They're very close and near and dear to my heart, but I'll let them go if I have to.
Well, and yeah, what I've heard.
Replace them, but I'll let you go if you need to, little bird.
Yeah, what I've heard so far, it's very tight. Yeah, it seems like a really tight knit, you know, very organic feel to it, which is really cool. So that I'm kind of curious about too. So I know, you know, like, some of these songs you wrote quite a long time ago. Is that true of all of the songs, or are some of this newer material, and is the band part of that writing structure as well?
Yeah, so great question. Yeah, so I would say it's like a probably like a 50-50. So
Okay.
like 50% of them, yeah, were written back in the day. You've got Bathory, well, a piece of Bathory. You've got She Wolves of the Wasteland, Hellbound, and then on the other part of the spectrum, No Gods, No Masters was written in like late 2019. So when he was stepping in and we were getting Jacob, that's No Gods, No Masters. You've got Viperwitch was kind of in the middle pocket. That was like towards the beginning of the first lineup. So, but then it was completely like revision with these guys. I'm just telling them all the songs. I should probably be careful. Anyway, there's a few more.
Yeah, as we spoil the track list by
There's
mistake.
a few more, but a lot of this, yeah. And regardless, even when we were sitting down and writing this, my skills have progressed. You know, these guys have skills that I really wanted to add in and give them movement into. So anything people have ever heard live, our stuff is, I don't know, it's different. It's different because these guys have come in and brought completely different elements, and they feel like rewritten pieces, but to its core, it's still the same. If they were written in the past or in the middle, but these newer ones too, these guys, like Jacob's drumming, he'd be like, cool, that'd be cool to do this kind of specific pattern, but I kind of want to lay different rhythmic patterns and create almost like a melody in a way, even though drums don't really create melody. It's just the way that they're rhythmically bound. It in your head, it's represented as melody, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
it's hard to describe. It's like, oh my god, that's so tasty. It tastes like it's like a melody, but it's just rhythmic patterns. So
Nice.
he's completely restructured a lot of these. And then Jay with bass, y'all let you talk about that. But
Yeah.
I've always had a very melodic style to my bass playing. I hate hanging out on the root note for too long. I find it very boring. So I love doing lots of runs and fifths and stuff, and just kind of bouncing around, throwing some chords in there, here and there,
Cool.
and just really kind of like not being bound to the cliche of just chugging the root note at an eighth note speed for the whole song, and just kind of breaking free from that a little bit while throwing in lots of the those very classic gallops and things like that. So it's just been really fun getting to sit down and reimagine some of this as the drum parts change. Some of the rhythms of the bass have to change, and I'm really excited. Well, she already named it, so I'm really excited for the parts that I laid down on Bathory. That came out really cool and really fun.
Cool.
It's been a really cool process, just getting to sit down and sort of like take something that's already had so much life and just kind of add a little bit of a twist to it and have it work out the way that it did.
Oh, nice.
I'm really happy with everything that I put down on this album. Absolutely.
They brought a lot of like seasoning and spices and flavors. It's like,
I like hot pepper.
Yeah, it's created. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's a whole different life, and it's a whole different aspect, and it's something that I from originally when I wrote everything how I wanted it. I wanted it multiple layers of melodies, and the old maiden bass lines that would just god, so fat and tasty, and lines like Steve DiGiorgio. I mean, they really help bass stand out rather than just kind of mold into the back. I wanted to have that, and these guys really brought it. So they all feel like new pieces. But yeah, we do have some newer stuff that I wrote with them, and it's just gorgeous. I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of them. They did some really cool shit. And I'm really lucky to have found them.
I can't wait to hear it. Is it going to be so with the release, is that going to be are you doing vinyl, CD, digital? You doing all the or what kind of
cool. First run? No, yeah, great question. First run, yeah. We're gonna be doing all digital just to get out the gates, because vinyl and cassette and everything, CDs, that it costs a lot of money. We do everything on our own, so it's we've already put a lot of money into it, and we figured let's just, instead of making people wait longer, because it's gonna take some time. We're gonna do that, but we're working with a record store out in Bristol in the UK, and I think they're called Black City Metal. Definitely go check them out. Really awesome guys. We were talking about pressing cassettes out there to start. Yeah, so there's physical copies, and then from there, not just me. I always worry that I'm coming up with these ideas and these guys are like, what the fuck? Like, no, you shouldn't do that. So
absolutely. I'm a child of the 90s. Cassettes,
yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So we'll be getting to that point, but I think it'll probably be more by summer. Realistically, is when we'll have the vinyls and stuff. Because
cool.
Yeah. So we're excited for that. But it's a waiting game. And when you are, as many people know, like when you are self-produced, when you're self-distributed, when you're doing everything yourself, like it's a lot. It's a lot of money you got to come out with, and you got to worry about your rent first, and so it's just you gotta take it for what it is, and stay focused on those goals. Like, we do want these vinyls. We do want these little metallic mirror looking cassettes with really cool insert booklets with like comics going along with the lyrics. But it's like, abroad, where's that money coming from?
That's especially if you're doing it yourself. Yeah, that can add up pretty quickly. So, but yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, that's going to be great. With the release coming soon, here in May. And so I know you're probably really focused on that right now, but once that drops, do you have live shows do you have stuff lined up right now? Do you have any touring, any gigs, any festivals, anything on the horizon?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that too, because for a minute I was like, do we just drop the album and then just disappear like some bands? Like, oh, this is so good, and then they don't exist anymore.
All right, gang, let's split up.
All right, time to split up. No, we've got some shows lined up, obviously, like local. We wanted to always make sure that we're doing some local stuff. But our main focus this year was festivals. Lots of festivals, and like a tour, like a couple tours here or there. We're currently in the middle of like working the logistics of that out. But as for festivals, yes. We got asked to play, I'm so excited about this one, but Legions of Metal out in Chicago at Reggie's.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, that was a big one. It was like, oh my God, we did it. We fucking did it.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be in May. I believe it's May 4th and 5th.
So the festival itself is May 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
But we play on Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
Okay.
And that is how I will remember that.
Nice. I love it.
So we got that. Yeah, we've got a festival in September out in Nebraska. We've got another festival out in Austin, Texas in October, and obviously some tour dates kind of fat right in the middle. Once I'm allowed to talk about them, because I have a problem with not talking about these things, I'll post it up. I'll post it up on the band page once I get the okay. Otherwise I get too excited and I'm like, oh my God, check this out. And they're like, yo, we haven't even finished that yet. So I'm trying to be good.
Yeah, I have to keep her from sharing things too quickly, but I can't blame her for being excited. A lot of this is really fun, really cool stuff. So
yeah, it's because I know you've played with some big names in the past. Dokken, for one of my favorite bands of all time. Flotsam and Jetsam.
I was like, I sure, dude.
Yeah, Lita Ford. I mean, you played with some, Enforcer. You guys, Warbringer, I think, right? You played some big names, so that's cool. So I would imagine, especially with an album dropping, that you'll be jumping on some big tours too with some other bands in the coming months.
We're hoping. We've set aside our calendar, and I think what was so cool about playing with those bands is that was within our first year of being a full lineup, and those were my heroes. I mean, I have Under Lock and Key, like it is on my wall the past 10 years next to my bed. Yeah, every time I wake up, I get to see Don Dokken and George Lynch just wake me up. I'm like, good morning, boys. You know, that was huge. And Lita Ford was even more mind blowing between, you know, like Lita Ford and, you know, the Great Cat back in the 80s. They were really kind of paving the way. I mean, there's others, but for me, that was like that was really big. So, you know, being obsessed with her my whole life, and then finally getting to be on her stage, I was like, no, did I take too many mushrooms and someone's fucking with me? And like, I'm not really here right now. Like, where am I?
She was absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree all day, just walking around, the biggest smile on her face, in the best mood.
I bet.
And then, you know, just watching her play on stage, knowing that she was opening for Lita Ford, like that was probably the most fun I've ever seen her have playing a show.
Dude, I still get goosebumps, like still thinking about it and talking about it. And my mom had just unexpectedly passed like a year before that happened. And, you know, my mom and my dad were the reason, just like for Jay, like his dad. So it's like, you know, that core, that person in your life that is the reason you're doing what you're doing. The bands that you know, when she passed, that was rough. But then, you know, sitting there and playing for Lita Ford, I'm like, I feel like she's like pulling some strings out there, because this ain't real. Like, this is not real. Like, Lita Ford, my mom showed me her. Like, it's just weird. So that was really cool. That was like
that's really cool,
otherworldly experience, and I hope maybe one day we get to experience again. But that's a pipe dream. But we'll see.
Wow, no, that's great. Yeah, that's really cool. So Danica, you've touched on this, but Jay, I wanted to ask you about your start in music. Like, when did that start for you? Did you come from a musical family? Like, what was the impetus for you as far as, you know, playing guitar, playing bass?
So for me, it was, you know, much like Danica, my dad was in the music industry from pretty much the time I was born. You know, I was more or less raised in a recording studio for some years of my youth.
Oh, wow.
You know, there's photos of me as early as like 5 years old, sitting in professional recording studios with my dad with a pair of Sennheiser HD 280s over my tiny head.
Nice.
I kind of fell in love with it, and like the bass I recorded the album with is actually a bass that was given to me by my dad when I was 11 years old.
Oh, cool.
So I've had it for 20 years now. And
that's great.
I just kind of have always had it around. And, you know, my dad still does music too. He still, he tours with all sorts of big names. So it's just, you know, it kind of just felt like something that was in my blood. And, you know, one day I picked up a guitar and a bass, and I was just kind of like, yeah, no, this feels right. I'm just going to keep doing this. And, you know, he's an engineer and a producer, so I naturally started to pick that up as well. And you know, learned a lot from him, so I was able to actually assist a lot with the recording process of this and some of the production quality too. So it just kind of like, I literally just feel like I was born into it. I don't remember ever not doing music.
Right. Yeah. It's literally in your blood.
Yeah.
Like both of you. Yeah. Literally in your blood. That's cool. That's cool. Danica, when did you start playing guitar? Do you remember do you remember when you're like, I want to do this?
Yeah, my poor parents remember it. Like, my dad still jokes about it. So my dad, just a sidetrack. So my dad and I, we basically refurbish guitars. I do a lot of tech work. Specifically, we like to work on a lot of vintage stuff, as well as amps. You know, other than retubing and retolexing and stuff, we like to work on this stuff. And I would say every weekend my dad comes over and he brings, oh, check out, look what I got, blah, 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 blah. And he always reminds me, like, wow, it's really great. Like, and it's usually a conversation between him and, you know, Jay and my dad. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that fucking album because Danica would not stop fucking playing it on repeat, blowing out this JCM 800 and this Jackson fucking preamp. Like, I remember that. And every week he would remind Jay of that. Like, I suffered so you guys could have what you have now. But yeah, that literally started obviously when you're a kid. You know, your dad hands you a guitar and you've got pictures, but what I remember is a little bit later than some of the photos that my parents have of me. I remember probably right around 5th, 6th grade. I just left Catholic school and I was bullied to shit. like everybody else does. I mean, we're all metalheads. Obviously, we're metalheads for a reason. We're all bullied at some point. So
Right.
I left Catholic schools going into public school, and there was music classes that were available, and it was the first time that for me, it was like, oh, there's like electives. Like, what are that? Like, what are that? What is that? I'm also dyslexic, so bear with me, which is hilarious because I'm a linguist. Can't spell. So probably around going into 6th grade, I was like, wow, cool, like I can take music classes. And my dad was like, yeah. And then that's when my parents kind of realized, oh shit, like, okay, let's see what we can do. And then I would sit in my parents' basement, and yeah, there was a JCM 800, and he had an entire rack system. It was like a Jackson preamp where you can filter through effects. And I remember my dad sitting me down and saying, these are the only buttons you touch. Make sure this one goes on first for 30 seconds. So he would tell me, like, and I remember him taping a bunch of stuff off for me and giving me the 6 CD changer rack. And I would just have my stack of CDs, and he would be like, here are some basic chords. And as I got a hang of that, got the hang of them, I literally would throw my CDs in, and I would just push play from start to finish, and I would just learn by ear. And then probably about 7th grade, I met a bunch of girls that were also musicians, and that's where it really started. Like, my parents would be like, oh my, okay, so this is more than just music class. This is more than just like a hobby. And at the time I was doing softball, and moving into like junior Olympic softball. So they were like, oh shit, athletics and music, which my parents were both. I don't know why the fuck they were so surprised. It was like, I'm literally you. Genetically and mathematically, I'm 50 you, 50 you. So that's when they were like, okay, let's start actually helping, so that's when my dad kind of stepped in and being like, let me teach you inverted chords, let me teach you this, let me teach you what, like, how scales work. And they started putting me in more music classes. And so basically my day in school was tons of music classes, and then like sports all night, all weekend. And then I think from about 6th grade all the way into college, like even through college, that was just kind of, it was always important. It was always, and then I took a break, probably midway through college. Yeah. And then I went and did competitive snowboarding and broke a lot of things and had fun, and then was like, I want to go back to music. Seems a little safer. So yeah, that's kind of where all that started, and where that just ended up leading off. And now here we are. My dad and I have our own little side gig, and we're doing all kinds of shit. We've got the band, and our life is literally just nothing but music and huskies.
That sounds like a good life to me. Yeah, that sounds like
it's pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I love that. Well, Danica and Jay, this has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you tonight. I cannot wait for the album to come out. So for those of you watching, you'll definitely want to check out Viperwitch. There are links below in the description. New album drops May 1st. But there are a couple singles out there right now you can check out. Go to their YouTube page, excuse me, which will also be in the links below. Check that out. You're gonna love it. Especially if you're into, that 80s, early 80s melodic, just traditional metal, you will dig this band. I am all in. So thank you so very much for chatting with me. This was great. This was really fun.
Thanks so much.